There was a boy named Giuseppe who was 11 years old. And he had such great love for Jesus in the Eucharist. But whilst he was growing up, the age to receive Holy Communion was 12. And he would be so sad when he went to Mass, when the priest would pass him by and give others Holy Communion. He desired to receive Jesus. So he went to his priest, his parish priest, after Mass one day and said, "Father, why can I not receive Holy Communion?" And the priest says, "Because you're not yet 12. But he says, "I want to receive Jesus in Holy Communion." And he kept pestering the priest, and the priest says, "Giuseppe, I can't change the rules. The rules are already made by the church. I can't change them." So to pass him off quietly, the priest says, "Well, in 2 weeks' time, the bishop is coming here for confirmation. Perhaps you can ask him. He might be able to change the rule." And so Giuseppe waited patiently for 2 weeks, and when the bishop came, he had his opportunity, went up to the bishop and says, "Your Grace, I would like to receive Holy Communion." And the bishop is wondering, who's this young boy? And he says, "How old are you?" He said, "I'm 11. And the bishop says, "You've got to be 12 in order to receive Holy Communion, because you don't understand at this age the mystery of the Eucharist." And the boy said, "But Bishop, I do. I know that Jesus is present in the Eucharist. What more do I need to know?" And the bishop was taken aback, and the priest quickly jumped in and said, "Bishop, this young man wants to become a priest, and therefore he knows Latin, and he's prepared, and he's waiting to receive Holy Communion." And the bishop said, "Whilst you have a great desire to do this, I cannot change the law. Perhaps one day when you become a priest, you can become bishop and later on become the pope, and then you can change the law. You have every authority to do it." And so Giuseppe then waited patiently for a few more months until he closed 12 and made his Holy Communion. And later on he went on to become a priest, then a bishop, then a Cardinal of Venice, the Patriarch of Venice, and then eventually he became the Pope. He was Pope Pius X. And one of the first things he did as Pope was to change the age of receiving Holy Communion. So from that time on, the age was moved from 12 years to 7. So you could be 7 years of age or at an age of reason to be able to receive Holy Communion. And Pope Pius X did many wonderful things while he was Pope. But he is known for this particular gift to the church, to bring the age of communion to the age of 7. Because he realized full and well the desire he had to receive Jesus in Holy Communion. And he knew full and well that young children have a great desire to be one with Jesus. And that is the age. Perhaps now the age of reason might be 3, not 7. Because kids know a lot of stuff at that age. And we want to be at an age where we don't understand the whole mystery, but simply to know that Jesus is present in the Eucharist. And that is why it's important for us to bring our children to Holy Communion when they are at that age of reason, so they can fall in love with Jesus. They don't understand the whole mystery part, but simply to know that Jesus is present in the Eucharist. And for those who practice the faith and go to Mass regularly, you would come to recognize that your children will come to see that Jesus is present in the Eucharist. They don't need any theological explanation, but simply they know that Jesus is present in the Eucharist. And Pope Pius X saw this reception of Holy Communion at that age as a medicine for the spiritual life. Because we draw our strength, our life from Jesus, as the gospel says. We draw our life from Jesus as Jesus draws his life from the Father. So every time we go to Holy Communion, we receive this life in us to overcome the essential passions that we are so much tempted with each day. Receiving Jesus in Holy Communion enables us to avoid venial sins. To go to communion regularly is to enable us to avoid even the mortal sins. Because what does this do for us going to Mass? It brings us into a deeper relationship with Jesus. Jesus comes to us in Holy Communion so that we have the strength from heaven to stay close to Jesus, from whom we draw life, so we can live life to the full. Whilst live streaming is good, and for those of you who are at home who are participating in this Mass, it is only a consolation prize. It's only a consolation prize. I told you in the very first few days when I began live streaming, I think I'm getting a little bit better at it, but I was the most nervous to do it to start off. And I did say there are very few things I dislike doing in life. One is parachuting, the other is paragliding, and the third is saying Mass for you in front of the camera. But the only reason why I began doing this, to celebrate Mass and to live stream it, is so that you, during these difficult times, will have some consolation to know that Mass is being offered continuously here for you in this parish. And in some way you are participating in this Mass from home. But there is only a consolation prize. Don't think this is it, because it is not. Nothing can compare with you being present at Mass to receive Jesus in Holy Communion. While spiritual communion is a consolation prize, it is not the prize. It's not the greatest gift. The greatest gift is to receive Jesus in Holy Communion. And that is why Pope Pius X enabled us at the age of 7 to receive him, so that you and I can have the real presence in us. And in the way we live our life each day, we come to know how important this recognition, this realization that God is with us. I mentioned some time back that when I went to India some years ago, I went shopping to get a few knickknacks for the church, like altar cloths and all these things, and a few things that could only be got in a particular place in my hometown. But that particular place is adjacent to this beautiful temple, this Hindu temple. And it is the belief of the people that God who lives in the temple would come out once a year for a whole week and live among the people, and this location adjacent to the temple is where he would come out and live among the people and be among the people. And in that particular week, all the shops around that space are closed because God has come to be among the people. So I was deeply disappointed. I went to shop there, it was all closed. So I was walking up the stairs and coming out of the place and saw a man in a tuk-tuk drive there, turn off the engine, get out, take off his slippers, and he lay prostrate on the ground looking in the direction where God was present for them among his people. And I was simply at that very moment amazed to think, here is a man who has such great faith. And we as Catholics, we have such little faith in Jesus' real presence. How do we acknowledge his presence? God doesn't come to live with us once a week. He has lived among us from the time he ascended to the Father in the Eucharist. And he's physically present with us, body, blood, soul, and divinity, as the feast says celebrated today. He's with us. Why? So we could have this constant help to boost up our spiritual life, to know that no matter where we find ourselves each day in life, that He is with us. In these days, while the virus is out and about, we are building up our immune system to fight this virus, or even if it's a common cold or flu, we are building up our immunity. Now, if we spend so much of money to build up our physical immunity, should it not be important then that we spend time each day to build up our spiritual immunity? It's important for us to pray the rosary, to do all the other devotions, to read the scriptures, but everything that we do must direct us to the Eucharist, because the Eucharist is the source and summit of the Christian life. We need to be present at Mass to receive Jesus in Holy Communion. So pray for the day then we will go back to having people in the church, because we cannot constantly live on this consolation prize. We need to be present at Mass. We shouldn't get used to the idea, it's okay if we can't go to Mass, we'll watch Mass at home. Because it's only a consolation prize. And today's great solemnity reminds us that God, who loves us so much, gives us His body and blood in the Eucharist. So you and I can have this probiotic for the spiritual life, to enable us to build up a strong immunity against the evil one, against the temptations of the world, so we can come to live life that God is calling us to live each day. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.